Hey, welcome to Teaching with Canvas as part of the new faculty orientation. I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. My name is Dr. Sally Hughes. I am with the Center for Teaching Excellence as a manager for instructional design. And we have with us today as moderator Reem Hussein, who is one of our instructional consultants. Our objectives for this session is we hope by the time we're done this session, you are able to distinguish Canvas course design best practices. You are able to generate or import content for a Canvas course, and you are able to devise a structured sequence that will make Canvas consistent for your students. What you see on the screen here are a couple screenshots of different pages within Canvas that will illustrate some of those objectives. You'll see me using my notes today, and that's because I don't want to forget to say anything, so please forgive me, but I am sure you would rather me say everything that I need to say than forget a bunch of stuff. So just as a reminder, we have some upcoming resources, tools for a successful Canvas experience. You've probably already heard about this in other sessions, but just to make sure everybody's heard it, we have a new Canvas Essentials course, Essentials for New Faculty. It has numerous asynchronous resources. You'll be in there with other new faculty, so it'll be a good community of learners, and you'll have access to this for the entire year. Anything you see in this session is also represented in this course, and it goes into a much deeper level so that we're not just kind of skimming through the top like we have to do in a session that's under an hour. So additionally, we also have, oh, and I forgot to mention that Reem is adding these links in the chat. So thank you, Reem. I appreciate that. We also have the start of semester checklist. If you were in the new faculty orientation session 2 days ago, you saw Reem and myself and two other gentlemen present. And one of the things we talked about was the start of semester checklist. We actually have two checklists, one for returning faculty and one for new faculty or people who are new to Canvas. And so we recommend that you start with the new faculty one simply because you're all new faculty, but some of you also may have existing Canvas experience, and the new faculty kind of tailors the experience of setting up a checklist for A&M's Canvas instance. So, and Reem has put the link to that as well. So we're going to start with Canvas course design best practices. Before you actually start building a Canvas course, it's important for you to kind of come up with a process, and it really does need to be personalized to you. But these are some of the steps that we recommend at being part of your process somewhere. So this cycle you'll see is never ending because we always believe in a continuous improvement model. And so we're going to focus on designing and building the course in this section. And all of this is under the idea of how AI will change teaching and learning. And so we'll recommend a couple different areas where you can use AI to help with this. So starting at the top of this flow chart, design and build a course, you're going to use all of your previous experience, whether you were a student, a teacher, you've got all your content knowledge, using institutional checklists, such as the one I just shared about the start of semester. You might even use an AI tool like ChatGPT, and you're going to decide how your course is going to be built. And there's a lot of decision-making points along that process, which we'll go into. But once you've got your course designed and built, then you're going to look at this course in a couple different ways. First, you want to utilize Canvas's student view tool so that you have the ability to look at your course the way students will see it. It's really important to do that. It's also important to try and navigate through a specific module or a specific section of your course term as a student to see how efficient your structure is. We also encourage you to seek consultation with your peers or with people from CTE like Reem or myself, or even, maybe a family member who volunteers. And the purpose of that is to get someone outside of education's viewpoint on things like, do you have any typos? Do you have anything that's not working? Do you have an inconsistent structure from one page to another? And taking all of, what you saw as a student view, what you gleaned from some of your peers, And then even soliciting feedback from your students. And obviously you'll get feedback from your students at the end of a semester, but we also encourage you to solicit their feedback during the semester to see if there's any areas of your course that may need some tweaking, that have been difficult for them or a struggle to navigate. Taking all of that feedback, you want to incorporate it into your course design. Excuse me. And then you're going to take that feedback and then improve it. And so one of the ways that I do that in my own online course is while I'm teaching a course, I create a hidden page. Students can't see it, I can see it. But what I do is on that page, I start making a list of things that I'm going to improve for the next time I teach it. And so by the end of the semester, I've got a list of things that I want to tweak or maybe even completely redo. Sometimes you can make those little changes during a semester, but if it's a major change, like I made a major change to one of the projects that I'm doing with my students, I'm not going to make that change during the semester, but I do want to document the changes that I do want to make. And then at the end of that semester, I will have that list ready to go. And I won't have to worry about forgetting something that I thought of early in the semester because I've documented as I went along. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes on an efficient way to do that. So as with any course, the first thing you start with is you want to identify what you expect your students to be able to do when they're done that course, what they will learn, what they will do. And that's in developing your learning objectives or your learning outcomes. What should students be able to achieve while they're in your course? What should they retain when they leave your course? Generative AI like ChatGPT is a good way to do that. As you can see on the screen, I've got a couple columns of action verbs. When you're developing your learning outcomes, you really want to make them measurable and identify exactly what will be a manifestation of their learning. Obviously, they're all going to understand something, but if you look on this chart, you won't see understand on it because the verb understand is not measurable. Someone can understand something, but you can't really measure understanding until they actually do something that's observable. And so all the verbs on this list might also appear on a Bloom's taxonomy list. And some of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. That is a taxonomy of cognitive action and thought. And so there are verbs associated with those kind of cognitive processes. I've organized this ChatGPT chart to reflect lower level cognitive verbs in column 1 all the way up to column 4, which are higher level. So when you teach your students, you're identifying what it will look like if students have learned what you want them to learn. So it might be where they have to detect something, or they have to create something, or they might have to illustrate something. Those are all different levels of Bloom's, and your outcomes should state a measurable verb for your students that convey what you want them to be able to do at the end of the unit or module or even course. Now, working backwards, because that's what instructional designers do, and that's one of my areas of expertise. Once you have identified, well, let me go back real quick. Once you've identified your learning objectives, now you have to kind of think about how am I going to assess that? And so you identify what type of assessment your students will do to demonstrate they have learned what you wish them to learn, or the skill that they are supposed to develop during your course. And keep in mind that an assessment doesn't always mean a test. It can be a project, it could be a performance. There's lots of ways to assess. But once you have those objectives and you've identified that assessment, you've got a learning gap here. You've told them what they want, what you want them to be able to do. The assessment will measure how well they can do it. And everything in between are your activities or your tasks like reading or assignments that they complete. It's all those things they have to do to get from no knowledge, but understanding what you want them to do all the way up to that assessment, which measures how well they can actually do it. So as you're working in Canvas, that structure of how you have your students get from the objective up to the assessment has to include all of those components. Everybody has a course that's, all the stuff that they have to teach. And most people will take that amount and break it up into manageable chunks of learning. You might call those weeks. You might call them modules. You might call them units. It really doesn't matter how you break it up, but almost everybody breaks it up some way. Otherwise, it's not manageable. And so those chunks are how you structure within Canvas. And because Canvas uses the term modules, I'm going to use that for now, but you might call them units or weeks or whatever. It provides a sequence that is easy for students to follow. And so I want you to focus on that word sequence, because that sequence is important. And I'll talk more about the opposite of using a sequence in a second. And don't forget, as you're creating these modules, you want to use that student view to make sure that it's making sense and looking good for your students, because those are the people who are your users. Those, you want to design a good user experience for them. Now, I said sequence because if you look at this example from one of our Canvas courses, and I'll show you a Canvas course in just a second with the Canvas template in it. This module has a lot of components to it. Your modules may not have that many, but what I want to point out here is there is several pages. One page is an introduction or an overview of what this module will be about. And then on this particular one, it's broken down into learning materials and assignments. And then there are several pages or items in each section. And so one of the things that may radiate with some of you is I've seen a lot of courses, especially at higher ed, where faculty will say, okay, well, this module is going to be all my readings for the semester, or this module is going to be all my assignments for the semester. Okay, so suppose you have 4 or 5 different modules that are single content types. So you've got readings, tests, discussions, assignments. Now pretend you are that student and you're in week 3. You have to go to the test module to find the test for week 3, and the discussions module to find the discussion for week 3, and the readings module to find the readings for week 3, and the assignment module to find the week 3 assignments. So you're having to go all these different places as a student to get what you need just for 1 week. And so now you can see why structuring it in this way, where your modules are sequenced and everything you need for that unit is in one module. You are more likely going to have your students be more successful and be able to locate the items for that module. And if they can locate them, then they can do them. But if your students are spending all their time looking for things because you got them in 8 different modules, it will greatly reduce the likelihood that they will find everything and do all your tasks you want them to do for that module. So you really want to structure your modules in a chronological order from the beginning of the semester to the end, not by content type. So you're not going to make a module just for the entire semester's readings. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about that? Okay, thank you, Connor. I'm going to keep going then. All right, so here's another example of a way that you could make your modules a little bit more organized and a little bit more logical. You can consider a labeling system like this one. So this is module 1. There's the module 1.1 page, 0.2 page, 0.3 page. Here's the discussion that's 0.4. But you can tell, even if I just have 1.4 support form open, that goes with module 1 just because of the numbering system. And that's just a little trick that helps it easier for students to find things and know where things are. Don't forget, use that student view. And I did tell you I was going to show you our template. So let me do that real quick. I need to stop sharing and then I'll bring this template over. Some of you have seen this before, some of you have not. So that's why I want to share it so everybody has a chance to see it. So your Canvas course, if you're teaching this fall, you'll see it this fall. You should already see it, hopefully, very soon. If you don't have access yet, I hope you do soon. Or in the spring shells will come out usually in November. So this is an example. This is what the Canvas template looks like, and it's loaded into every course automatically, regardless of whether you are a face-to-face instructor, fully online instructor, or somewhere in between. Every course gets this template. And everything I'm telling you about using Canvas applies to any course, regardless of the modality. So this particular Canvas template, actually, this is not the one I wanted to share. Please forgive me. I wanted to share this one. Confirm with me that you can still see. And it's the one with syllabus button.
I can see the homepage.
Perfect.
It does have all the buttons on there, yes.
Okay, so it's the one that has a syllabus button though.
Can you go ahead and can you click on something so I can see if the page changed? Yeah, I can't see what you're doing. So
Okay.
it's not the right one. Yeah.
Let me change real quick. Stop sharing and reshare. Hopefully I got the right one this time. Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, so what you'll see is it's actually called a master blueprint course. It's added to your course automatically. There's a welcome message here, and we strongly encourage you to edit it to make it your own. But this is one that could stay even if you can't think of anything to put in your welcome message. You'll see these 5 buttons down below. There's syllabus, office hours, university resources, Canvas resources, and mental health. And these last 3 buttons are really designed for students to have resources that are outside your course. Now, this Canvas resources button is all videos teaching them how to use Canvas. So I had a question in a previous session. Someone said, how do you get students to pay attention to when a quiz is due or something like that, you know? So that would relate to notifications. And there's actually a video in here that teaches students how to set up their notifications within Canvas. And if you've had a problem with that in the past, you might create an assignment that requires them to watch that video and then answer some questions so that they're more likely to set up notifications that'll help them be more self-directed learners. So the other thing you'll notice is there are some items that are available and some that are hidden. And the ones that are hidden, and I will be honest, mine may be a little bit different than what's the standard across the university, because this is one of my courses that I play around in. But you can unhide things yourself, but modules is unhidden, grades is unhidden, course evaluations, you know, that's not going to be relevant until the end of the semester. And then the accessibility report, which we'll talk about a little bit more. All right, let me go back to where we were in the PowerPoint. Okay, moving on. So as you're setting up your modules, you're creating a structure with modules, and then you're also creating a structure within modules. And so this would be an example of a page. And you know, once you decide on how you want your pages to look, you should be consistent across all your pages. So this is an example from one of our templates. And you'll notice that it's got a heading at the top. It's got some subheadings, and I'll show you where those are in just a moment. It's got some graphic elements that kind of do a nice job of organizing the page and making it visually appealing, but also useful for students. They know what the overview is about. They'll find their objectives here, and then they have their to-do list. So once you decide on how your pages should look, make all your pages look that way. And same with the other tools. So once you decide what your quizzes are going to look like, make your quizzes look similar to each other so students aren't having to guess things. Add graphic elements, use headings. There's little icons here that kind of can communicate what that section's about. So there's a lot of things you can do that helps with that consistent navigation. So now we're going to look at within a page or within some of the tools, you've got some other media that you have available to you. Let me go ahead and get into, this is the one I want. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you a little details here. Okay, so now I'm in a course and I'm going to show you a page, because there's lots of tools that are available to you, not just in pages, but in several areas. And I want you to see this view. This is what we call our rich content editor. It's actually editing the HTML code, but all you have to worry about is it's like a, you know, word processing page. But you need to make sure you have titles, and the way digital accessibility works is this page title is going to be very important for someone who's using assistive technology. So you want it to be more descriptive than just page 1 or page 2. You want to tell them what this page is going to include. Now, across the top, you'll see some text editing tools, much like you would see in, Word or Google Docs. This area right here shows you the heading structures that I mentioned a few minutes ago. And using headings, similar to what you saw on that example page, will help your pages and your quizzes and wherever this rich content editor exists, it'll help structure the text so it's easily used, not just by people who can see it and it shows a difference in size, but by people who use assistive technology, such as a screen reader. Those different headings actually create pause spots for assistive technology, such as a screen reader. Someone who is visually impaired probably isn't using a mouse. They're using the keyboard commands on their keyboard, such as the tab key and the arrow keys. And incorporating these headings into your text, wherever you are putting text in your course, whether it's a page, whether it's the instructions for a quiz, whether it's a discussion forum prompt, those headings will help someone using a screen reader to navigate that page better. There are some other ways to add different types of media, and these probably are familiar to you, but I just want to make sure you're familiar with the ones in Canvas. This is where you would take text such as Chapter 3 quiz. So you can select text and make it linked either to something within the course. So from here, I can link it to that Chapter 3 quiz, or if I'm using an outside website, I can link it to an external link as well. This image it's an image tool. When I want to select an image, it will give me the opportunity to upload or use one that's already in the course. If you're uploading, be sure to add an alt tag to that image for someone who's using a screen reader so that they can get the same amount of information from that content as people who are seeing. The next button over is a media button. And so this allows you to either upload media or record media. And if you decide you want to, or you can add media that's already in the course files. Recording media allows you to, let's let it load here. You are able to see that pop up, right, Reem? Okay. So it'll allow you to start recording, whether you are using your video or just your mic, or you're doing both. You can see it's already capturing my voice level here. And that will embed it right into the page. Then you've got some other options here. This will embed a file, such as a document. This will help you link to something that you have saved in your OneDrive through Microsoft Office. This is our media site, media recording and file management. And then there's some other plugins, and these are like our third-party tool apps. So I encourage you to get into this rich content editor and start exploring, see what's in here, see what's available to you. One thing that I'll show a little bit more detail in a second, this tool down here is the Canvas accessibility checker. So right now it shows nothing, it's just the tool. If something was inaccessible on the page, you would start seeing numbers here. And then when you click that, it will bring a window up that will detail what's wrong with these items and how you can fix them. Okay, we'll stop sharing in Canvas and go back to our presentation. Okay, so if you're putting in multimedia content, you want to first make sure it's accessible, but it's also going to be more engaging for your students. They're going to appreciate the opportunity. Instead of reading an announcement, maybe you could record an audio announcement. Instead of reading instructions for an assignment, maybe you could record a video. And then, of course, images. The Canvas tools to consider for that are Media Recorder, which, as I showed you in Canvas, is this tool right here. The image one is right next to it. Any questions? Okay, we'll keep going. So one of my areas of expertise is digital accessibility, which you probably got that from the last slide. You never know when you're going to have a student join your class who is visually impaired or hearing impaired or any of the, a combination of the two, or any of the other 22 different disabilities that we frequently see within higher ed. And so some ways that you can start from the beginning, from the design stage in prepping your course, not only is it going to be ready immediately for them, which is required by law, but it will also help people who don't have disabilities. So it makes your course actually more usable and improves the user experience for everyone. So I already talked a little bit about these headings, and keep in mind that, the more you can incorporate these headings into your page design, into your, text, wherever you're putting text in your course, the better. I also talked a little bit about the accessibility checker within the rich content editor. We talked a little bit about adding images and making sure those images have alt text, and then making sure that when you do choose a font, you're choosing one that is readable. So it's not too small. It's not an insufficient contrast with the background color. It's never easy to read yellow text on a white background. So use fonts that have a sufficient contrast with the background color or the page color. And so some of the tools to consider for that are using headings, using the accessibility checker, and then another tool that we have added in to our Canvas instance, which is called Ally. Let me share with you what Ally does. So Ally is available to everyone in your course navigation bar. And when you click this, what it'll do is it will generate a review of everything in your course and tell you what percentage your course is in terms of being digitally accessible. So there will be a summary here that shows you all the things that it checked. So you can see that it checked 105 images, 64 pages, all the way down to a PowerPoint presentation that was in there. And you can see what needs to be fixed if you go to the content page. And you'll see a list of everything that was checked and its individual score. And all those individual scores kind of combine to make your course score. When you get your course, it will show 100% accessible because our Canvas template is 100% accessible. But I've added some things in here. And so you'll know the level of how bad it is in terms of being accessible by the color of the little image here. Red is the worst. Dark green is the best, and then in between you'll see from red is an orange, which is pretty bad but not as bad as red. And then if something's not 100% perfect, it might be a light green color, which indicates it's accessible but it could be improved. So there's 4 different levels within Ally, and to check or fix something that's inaccessible, that would take a whole nother 3-hour workshop. But I just wanted to share with you that you can sort by name, sort by score, sort by issues. So this particular document has 4 different things wrong with it. And you can use Ally to help you judge and fix the accessibility of your course. Any questions so far? Okay, let's keep going. So I mentioned before that your student, you should, look at what your course looks like from student view. Keep in mind that faculty will be accessing their courses most of the time from computers, from a laptop or from a desktop computer. Students, for the most part, majority of them access their courses on their phones. So it's important for you to kind of get an idea of what your course looks like on phone platform. So there are both teacher and student apps, and we encourage you to download the Canvas teacher app so that you can look at your course from the app perspective. There is also an instructional video in the Canvas template, in those Canvas resources about the apps. So tools to consider are the student view, which we talked about already, and then the Canvas teacher app. So there's also some tools for communication. And we want to make sure that you are communicating with your students in the most efficient way that works for you so that students have an idea of what's going on, what they need to be watching for, that type of thing. So the three main tools for that are announcements, which is a one-way communication from instructor to the entire course. Keep in mind that you can set up every announcement you want to send throughout the semester before the semester even starts, because there is a delay feature and you can schedule when you want that announcement to go out. Another tool for communicating is the discussions tool, where you can engage the entire course or section or even a group of students in a virtual discussion. Even if you're a face-to-face instructor, I strongly recommend the use of a discussion, because I'd like you to consider discussing virtually versus discussing in your classroom. You almost always have a student in your classroom who won't speak during the class. You want to engage the class in class discussion. You might even decide you want to take a grade on how well they know the content based on their discussion contributions. But you have people who just don't like to speak within a group. And so if you set up that discussion within the virtual environment, first thing it does is it gives people a chance to think about what they would say in response to your question. And that's going to give you a higher quality of discussion posts versus the student in class who responds to your question too quickly and then is like, oh, I wish I had said blank, but this other kid said that. So it makes a much higher quality discussion. The other thing you can do is, like it says here, you can use a discussion for just one section of the class or just for one group in the class. I use a discussion tool in my own online class as a journal. And I have exactly one student doing each discussion. It's kind of complicated, but basically I set up groups. And if I have 20 students, there's 20 groups, one person per group. And then they get their own discussion, which becomes a journal. I can see it, they can see it, no one else can. We also have messaging. You can do individual messages, which is a one-to-one message, or the second option here under messaging is it's an option within the messaging area where you can say something like, message all students who have not completed blank assignment, or message all students who made more than a 95 on this assignment. And so you can use it for both, accountability purposes or recognizing, lots of good effort there. It's important to establish expectations and roles with whatever messaging or whatever communication, whichever communication tool you decide to use, even if you use all of them. And so those tools are announcements, discussions, and messaging. Any questions about those? All right, so let's move on to assessment. I mentioned them when I talked about that backward design. You've got your objectives, your outcomes, and then you decide what your assessment's going to be. Your assessments might be a quiz or a test. It might be a project, which would fall under an assignment. It might even be a discussion. And that's because we have different types of assessments. That summative assessment is going to be that kind of end of unit, but formative assessments are more informal types of ways for you to see and students to see how well they know the material so far. That summative assessment almost always comes at the end of a unit of study, whereas the formative assessment comes all the way to that end. It allows students to gauge how well they're understanding, how well they're getting the material, and then make adjustments if they need to. There's different ways you can do that. We've got quizzes, we've got different ways of submitting within the assignment tool. You might have someone submit a recording, you might have them upload a file of a document they created. There's lots of options available for you. And so we encourage you to not be that faculty member who lets their students know twice in a year how they're doing, once at midterm and once at the end of the semester. Your students need more feedback than that. And a great way to do that is using formative assessments. You can set them up to be very efficient for you in terms of gauging their level of understanding without a lot of grading on your part, and let Canvas help you with that. And then also we have rubric tool within Canvas. A rubric is a way to provide specific criteria for how something will be graded when it's not an auto-graded assignment. You can even use it for formative or summative assessments, though I do see rubrics being used more for those summative assessments. And you lay out what criteria, such as, you know, do you have this slide? Do you have this slide? And then within a criteria, what are the levels of accomplishment? Suppose you require this biology slide, but the student doesn't put a biology slide in it. Well, then they would earn 0 out of the possible 4 points. Maybe they did a slide that was really halfway done, and you can give that 2 points out of the possible 4 points. The rubric really provides students a way to get the criteria of what you expect on the assignment. It provides the expectations for them, and it's very transparent. And then again, if you're going to assign a project, there's absolutely no reason not to give them the rubric when you assign it, so that they know what the goal is, what you're looking for in their product. Rubrics are one way to provide timely feedback, but there are some other ways. And one of the tools that we have incorporated into Canvas is the speed grader. And Reema's doing a great job of putting those links in there. There is a link for the speed grader and how to use it. And it helps students to understand their performance, what the expectations are, and it helps you to develop a feedback loop. So that you're giving students feedback on how they do on their various assessments and assignments. And then being present. You know, I don't think most of you are going to be fully online course faculty members, but if you are, or even if you're just in a hybrid situation, having a presence within Canvas will actually improve your students' outcomes. Being able to, for your students to know who you are a little bit, rather than just, you know, the text that's provided by my faculty member that I don't really know that well, you can establish a faculty presence within Canvas, which research shows actually helps your students perform better. There's a couple different ways you can do that. And building community within the course with your students. You can jump into discussions. You can provide guidance to them. You can communicate with them in those various forms that I talked about, whether it's announcements or, you know, the messaging tool. You can also use the people tool in your course menu and look at your different students, and you can see all the roles here. So in this particular course, CJ is our teacher, and Armanto is our TA, and everybody else is a student. And it tells you when was the last time they logged on and how long were they on. And there's some other reports available within here on student activity, but it helps you to provide a presence through your discussions, for your communications. And you can even take it up a notch and use some of those audio and video recording tools to replace some of the areas where you would have previously used text. For example, you might put text announcements for the first week, but then maybe in week 2, you record some audio announcements. It's good for students to hear your voice and see your face, and recognizing that you're an actual human on the other side. If you're teaching face-to-face, they've met you before possibly, but putting your presence within Canvas will help as well. And then encouraging students to be those self-directed learners. We all want students to know what the next thing is that they're supposed to be working on. And Canvas has a few ways that you can do that. You can set up structures within your modules using restrictions that would require students to do this before they can have access to that. And so that's a module restriction, or even an assignment restriction type of setting. We also have a new tool called Mastery Paths. Right now we're piloting with the vet school, and based on how well that pilot goes, we'll eventually roll it out once we're ready to support it and instruct on how to use it with the rest of the university. And those things help students to access material as they need it. So the Mastery Paths is real cool because it actually allows you to develop a path. So suppose they take a formative assessment quiz and they get this really low grade on it. Well, that might direct them back to something to kind of remediate before they go on in the progress. If they got a really high grade, that might allow them to go on to the next step. So Mastery Paths is really useful in that type of structure within a course. And then finally, we want to get to our quality assurance. Actually, it's not finally, but it's close. Have a process for reviewing your course and looking at it and making sure that students don't see something that you didn't intend, or that it's well designed and, you know, edited and ready to go. So it allows you to identify technical issues. You can explore it as a student using that student view, as you see here at letter B. Ask a colleague to navigate it and see if it makes sense. You can schedule a consultation with one of us over in the Center for Teaching Excellence. This tool here is called our link validator. And if you will go to the bottom of your menu in your course to settings, this is what you'll see on the settings page. And this validate links and content is your link validator tool available in your settings area. What it will do is it'll scan all of the content and identify anywhere where a link is not working correctly. And that helps you to clean it up and make it ready for students. Then you want to work on having regular updates. I talked a little bit earlier about, you know, keeping a running list of things that you want to do to your course to improve it. And this will help you do that. So one of the strategies that we recommend is for every course you teach, we recommend you request a developmental shell. Basically, it is a Canvas shell for that course that you're teaching. It's separate. It has no students in it. And so what we use these developmental shells or dev shells for is to keep a current version of our course so that when we're ready to get ready for the next semester, that current version of our course can be edited, updated, whatever you need to do to it, and then you can pop it right into the new course shell come the next semester. The reason we don't recommend you do that with your live shells, the ones that have students in it, is because when you're done a semester, yes, you'll still have access to that shell in perpetuity, but at a certain point, you'll no longer be able to edit it, that it'll be locked. And there's a reason for that. If you have a course that you have taught students and it's got student work in it, it's got student grades in it, you really shouldn't be changing anything about that course. It's an auditable document. It's an artifact. So what we recommend you do is take that content, put it into your dev shell. It does not transfer student work or student names or anything like that. And then using that list of edits you created, you can edit that course in your dev shell, and then it's ready for the next semester. Yeah, you should not make big changes in a live course, and you should not make any changes in an older course. At a certain point, it does get locked and you can't edit it anymore. You'll always be able to access it. And so that tool is DevShell, and Reem has added to the chat the way you would request it. You send an email to support@Instructure, ask them to escalate it to the TAMU support, and then request a dev shell for Biology 103. You don't need more than one dev shell per course. So if you have 4 sections of Biology 103, you're not going to get 4 dev shells. You're just going to get 1 for that. But suppose you teach Biology 103 and Biology 602. You would want 1 for Biology 103 and 1 for your 602 course, so that you have a current course dev shell for each of the courses you teach. All right, so where are we at time-wise?
15 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to go through a couple things. There are 2 different ways that you can move content from a course to another course. And you probably aren't doing this now unless somebody's giving you a course to use, but basically you can use the export and import, or you can use the copy. There are advantages and disadvantages for each. And this is a quick summary of those advantages and disadvantages. And this actually appears on the LMS website as well. I'm going to show you a real quick, I'm not going to play our videos, but if you download this presentation, and I know Reem added the link to download this presentation, there are embedded videos, one that will take you through the steps to export and import, and one that'll take you through the steps to copy. What I think you need to recognize though, is each of these has an impact on your storage limit. You may have heard the other day that there is a 1 gig storage limit for each course, and copied materials or exported and imported materials add to that storage. They don't increase your storage, but they take up your storage is what I'm trying to communicate. Let's look at export import briefly. Basically, the export import process will create a file that you can then export out of one course and then import into another course shell. The imported file is reflected in both what your capacity is and how much actual space you've used. So it's, to me, the export import is real cut and dry. I take the content out of this, I make an export file. It's basically making a copy of what's in here, and then I import it into my next course shell, and that files, the amount of storage that it takes up adds to what was already there. So this might be your Canvas template, and this is what you brought in from a previous course, okay? So now, course copy is very tricky because what it does is it does not display how much actual space you're using, because copied materials, when you're using course copy, actually reside in the original course. So if I copy it over 2 semesters, the quiz that I'm using here, the original is being pulled from my first course. And it's kind of tricky. And there are benefits and drawbacks to each format. And I encourage you to download this presentation and use these 2 videos. This one is on how to copy. It shows you the steps of how to go through it step by step. And then this one is how to export and import. And it goes through step by step what your options are and how to do it. There are some transfer considerations. Some external tools may need to have their links updated, depending on which you do, copy versus export import. Copying and pasting links of files from one course to another will break the links. So that's, cloud storage kind of thing. Exports do not include any kind of student data, student interaction, student assessments, anything like that. If you're exporting quizzes that are linked to question banks, it will not bring the bank. And importing a new quiz twice will overwrite the original. Same if you're copying data. Remember this one, it resides in the first course. If I have a quiz here and I start changing the questions, it's actually changing the questions in the first course, which can be really tricky and problematic. All right, now suppose you're not talking about a whole course full of content that you want to bring over. Maybe you just want to bring over a page, or maybe you just want to bring over an assignment. There's some pretty easy ways to do that. You can send, copy to, or use comments. So let me stop sharing for a second, because this is a fairly easy thing to demonstrate. Now I'm going to go into my assignments here. Hopefully I have one in my shell. Yes. Okay. Suppose I want to share this assignment with one of my other courses. So I can do a copy to, and then I look for my other course. And I click on my other course and it'll copy it into that other course. Okay. So that's a pretty easy way to share just individual items. Now, suppose I have a new faculty member in my department and I want to share some specific items that I have in my course. That would be a send to. So notice that I clicked on the little 3 buttons where that item is. I get this option to send to. Now I can type in that peer that I want to share it with. There's a lot of rings in here. So when I had Armanto moderating for me, there was just one Armanto. The third option for sharing content would be in a broader audience. You might even want to make it available as an open resource for other institutions to use. So that would be share to commons. Now, there's different levels of commons sharing. So let's let this load real quick and then you'll see. So you can actually share it with just yourself so that you can pull it from Commons. You can share it with all of Texas A&M University, or you can share it publicly within the Canvas Commons area. So there's different levels of the Commons sharing, and you don't have to share it outside of the university or even outside of you if you don't want to, but that's just another way to share. Okay. Oh, sorry. Just did this one. Just did this one. That's the Commons. Now, we're at the end of our presentation, and I wanted to remind you about the Canvas Essentials for New Faculty course. Remember that you can register for it by either clicking the link that Reem's put in the chat, or you can use the QR code to register. It's not an instant registration, so give us some time to actually process those. Not only do you have all the resources and more from what we just went through in this presentation, but you also have a lot of community of new faculty who are in the same boat as you, learning Canvas for the first time, learning A&M for the first time. And then also, we have some upcoming trainings. Don't forget, we have the Digital Learning Expo, which Reem just put the registration in the link, or the link for the registration in the chat for me. We have day 1 and day 2, different types of sessions. The day 1 is going to be lots of technical how-to, but it's going to go a little bit deeper than just this overview that I provided today. And then day 2 is going to be some faculty champions and sharing how they're using Canvas and other digital tools. Then I wanted to also call your attention to some of our upcoming programming in September and October, and we are adding to this at all times. But to register for any of those future programmings, you're going to get onto our ERS website, which Reem has just put in the chat for you. We would greatly appreciate it if you would give us a little bit of feedback on how we did today. So here is our evaluation form that Reem will put in the chat, and then also you could use your phone to capture that QR code. And now that we're at the end, do you have any questions?